It woke him up! It woke him up! Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Eek. Today, we're going to talk about where did all of the horror for kids go? Where did all the cool...
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. That's why we're going to talk about it, because I'm upset, and I want to know where it went, and I want more. More!
Let's find it!
Yeah!
I also wanted to say thank you so much for the reception on the new video. We're super hype. Bunch of new subscribers. Thank you so much. A lot of videos like this will keep coming out, so stick around.
True that. But we're going to get into this now, because I'm really upset, and we got to talk about it. All right, let's go.
We're figuring it out now!
So...
Now!
Where did all of the horror for kids go? Like 20 years ago? Not even. I feel like even like 10, 15 years ago.
19 even.
Could be. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing some horror kids stuff. Like, we got Goosebumps all over the place. I'm talking Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm talking Monster House. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. All this stuff was so scary. And I'm not talking the Hotel Transylvania, the stuff that's like themed horror but it's not really scary. No. We're not here to talk about it today. So don't get out of your mind. Stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about Adam Sandler, freak. And let's get like I said, there's so many older examples, like even just Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Dude, I love that dog.
Yeah, bro. I love Courage. Coraline, Monster House, like any Tim Burton claymation, like so many whack little things. But there was an abundance of it. It was amazing, and we all remember them so fondly. It was like you were just saying, you love Courage, I love Goosebumps, in case you couldn't tell. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was one of my favorite things. I remember sitting on the school bus and reading Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and looking at all the pictures, and they would keep me up all night. All right, it was just good memories, good stuff, good fun stuff.
I like bringing Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark on a little camping trip with your guys.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You lay in the tent with a flashlight, and your buddy Jake reads it, and everybody goes, "Eee!"
Exactly.
That's what I like, dude. It kicks ass.
It's fun for all ages, but like, they were just so good. And I feel like when you look at like what kids have now for like horror content in media and stuff like that.
Dude, even Robot Chicken was kind of scary back then.
Yeah, I don't know if Robot Chicken was meant for kids though. I don't.
Yeah, but it would come on the TV and I'd get so scared, dude. That's when I knew it was time for bed. That's when I knew it was time to go to 3rd grade tomorrow. It's like, all right, this day is done for.
I remember weird fever dreams where I would like wake up in the middle of the night to like Darth Vader like fighting like something in like this Robot Chicken like claymation style, and I hated it. It always pissed me off because it freaked me out.
So scary, dude.
It was horrifying. But like, that's not a thing now. Like, safe horror for kids isn't a thing. Like, yeah, obviously they can just watch.
And now it's super dangerous.
Yeah, but like, obviously they can watch like old stuff. But like, where's the new stuff? Where's the stuff that looks modern for them that they can still enjoy? They can build their own memories off of.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
So, I kind of did some digging to go look into like what kids got these days. Like, what are we looking at? When I tell you, there's nothing. It's so hard to find
nada.
Damn near anything. Some of the main things that pop up are obviously, you could say the reboot of Goosebumps or the reboot of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But like, those are for the adults who grew up on Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark. I don't really think any kids are watching. They seem very corny and not.
Yeah, they're all watching Bluey and Henry Danger.
Man, I'd rather watch a Bluey than some of this shit too. But so those just weren't it. A lot of people were saying stuff like Stranger Things and like Wednesday and stuff like that. I don't think
Stranger Things is not made for kids.
No, I don't think it was necessarily aimed at kids. I think a younger audience just happened to find it and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just seems like no one's making kid-friendly TV.
Yeah, because kids find it and enjoy it doesn't mean it's a kid-friendly kind of thing. Like, those are not synonymous.
Not at all. Like, I watched The Hills Have Eyes when I was like 11 years old. I shouldn't have been watching it.
Yeah.
And now whenever I go into the hills, I'm like, Jesus Christ, where's the eyes? Is it coming in? They're gonna get me.
And then as soon as you look away, the eyes in the hills just go bloop. Get it? Because they open. You go bloop. They look at you when you're not looking. Got it.
And then my jaw falls off.
But yeah, there was a lot of like little like mystery shows and stuff like that for kids nowadays, but like none of them, from what I could tell, were very scary and or had very good ratings. A lot of them were very just niche and no one seemed to enjoy them. I will say, before I go further into this, the one shining star that I found in all of this of like kids horror nowadays is this TV show called Creeped Out. Now, let me tell you, have you seen what the little guy for Creeped Out looks like? I think he's called the Curious or something.
No, I've not. Let me take a little peek. Ah! Yeah, he's pretty scoopy. He's pretty scary.
Is he just like a freaky little dude?
Yeah, he looks like an egg.
So I watched Creeped Out because I was curious. I wanted to know if it was any good, if there was something we could talk about. Let me tell you, honestly, I think it's very solid. I think it could definitely stand with like some of the older shows. I think if I watched it as a kid, I would have not only loved it, I think it would have scared the absolute shit out of me. The Curious, the little fella, kind of, he comes in at the beginning of the end of the episode, like a Tales from the Crypt kind of thing, like the Crypt Keeper, and he just kind of has like these little like talks, and at the end kind of talks about like what we learned. So for example, the episode that I watched is about these kids that go to a hotel, and this little girl hits all the buttons in the elevator, or she tries to, and then the janitor stops her and is like, "You do not want to do that. I promise you don't want to do that."
Okay.
And so she's kind of like, "Okay, whatever." And then she's going to go somewhere else, hits all the buttons in the elevator with her brother and her other sister in there. And they get out and they're like, "Where the hell are we? This is like some weird stuff." There's about 10 minutes of them trying to leave this hotel, and everywhere they go, they open a door and the hallway's super long and it's like repeating and they keep looping and stuff like that, and the elevator's like missing.
Classic.
So yeah. And then they end up getting split up. The little girl gets split up from her older sister and brother. And the older sister and brother are looking all around this hotel for her. And they find their way back to the lobby, and they go and talk to the receptionist. Long story short, they end up in a parallel universe where they were never born. Like, not a parallel, in an alternate universe where they were never born. And they are just like running around and don't know what to do because their parents don't know who they are. Their parents aren't together. Like, they just don't exist in this world. They find their way back, and they end up finding their way to the right spot and everything ends all right. And then the Curious comes out and is in this like dilapidated little hotel. It is just like, "Hey, wasn't that scary? I bet you thought you were alone in this world. You really think that there weren't alternate universes? You really think that there wasn't one where you just weren't born? Yeah, sure. I don't know why you should be afraid of a hotel over all the way in like wherever this thing is, but don't worry. There's lots of little pockets in the world where you can find yourself in this scenario."
You know what? With horror, I feel like one thing that was like a huge trope back in the day was the classic like narrator. Like, it either starts or ends with a guy sitting in a chair and he gives you the rundown. He's like, here's the roadmap, brother. This is what you missed out on. This is what's about to happen.
Yeah.
That needs to come back.
That's what I'm saying. And like, I think
need that
this Creeped Out show with the Curious, I thought that was awesome. I thought, what a horrifying way to end a kids TV show is to just tell them that they're not alone in this world, and that if they go to the wrong place, they're going to find a corner of the world that's going to bring them to a world they were never born. I think that's awesome.
I feel like with the kids shows back then that were horror related, it was like they're trying to leave you with a message or a theme. But now, since a lot of this content isn't made directly for children, there's still obviously themes and ideas behind the episodes. But since it's for a more mature audience, those aren't like spelled out for them, I guess.
Yeah,
but
they're not as prominent.
The kids shows, everything was not dumbed down. It was for children. So it was cool to have that like little breakdown. Or even like if you think about like Scooby-Doo at the end, it's like, here's how it all happened, man.
Yeah, they explain
cool.
it. I liked it. It's very nice. But just because there's one exception in all of this doesn't mean that this still isn't a lame thing. So when I was looking back into it, it turns out people have been asking like essentially what happened to all of the kids horror for like almost 10 years. Like, I've been seeing people talk about it for like roughly 10 years. And I know this kind of just sounds like someone bitching, like, oh, I miss the way that it was. I wish that there was more of this, blah 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 blah. But it is more than just that. Like, realistically, it is very important that shows like this exist so that kids can be scared in a safe setting. I'm going to be having a lot of quotes from this National Geographic article. We're going to have the link in the description for it. This article talks about why it's such like an important thing and just how it can like help kids properly grow and develop. A sociologist named Margie Kerr has a quotation saying, "Real life is scary enough, but experts say that experiencing safe fear can help children learn to manage their emotions and boost their self-confidence." And they just talk about how being scared in a safe scenario helps them. It will help a kid manage like a stressful situation when they know that they have the ability to like turn it off. Like, if they get too scared, they can turn it off at any point and don't have to deal with it. But knowing that, it gives them like the confidence to help them be able to like process and manage what they're seeing. At some point later in the article, Kerr recites a theory that she says, one theory proposes that when adults have increasingly less severe physiological responses to a momentary fright, their bodies can learn to react more confidently to similar situations in the future. In other words, the memory of overcoming a safe but scary event, like the first day of kindergarten, might help a child feel more confident in handling something like playing piano in public later on. So, just like even just
Makes
like the
sense.
small things as a kid, like of just like you're seeing the haunted mask. You're looking at it and you're like, "Oh my god, that's horrifying." Could have helped you later in life, like help present something or like do stuff that you obviously wouldn't have realized, but it just helps you get confidence that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise just from watching stuff that's always constantly safe and happy.
Yeah, it's interesting how childhood psychology works. It really seems like every little thing can be traced back to something. It can get a little convoluted. People, I think sometimes people might look too much into it, but this definitely makes sense. There's definitely a crossover between, like, I know you and I both enjoyed horror as children, and
Yeah.
here we are in our early 20s, and we're still obsessed with it. And we now have a YouTube channel just trying to talk about it because what you do as a child 100% defines who you end up becoming.
It sucks because when you have less like horror media for kids, like it almost feels like you're giving them less opportunities to necessarily have that option to grow up and want to talk about horror movies, want to make horror games, want to make horror movies, stuff like that. If they're not exposed to it, then they don't know. Like, they just wouldn't necessarily know that they would want to do that. But that wasn't all that was talked about in the article too. We have a quote too from pediatric neuropsychologist Sam Goldstein, in which they talk about how even being scared in safe environments could lower a chance of having depression later in life. They said when a child is afraid, a cascade of chemicals is released, including cortisol. High levels of cortisol over longer periods of time can be responsible for a host of problems, including depression. So
make your kids scared all the time, and then they'll never be depressed.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. I don't know what else could work.
Put a fucking wild baboon in there.
Yep. Oh my god, bro. When I was a little kid, there was one time when I was at the zoo, and the baboons had like a glass thing in between us, and one just started slamming the glass right in front of me, and I freaked out and had to leave.
A llama spit in my face as a kid, and I fucking hate him to this day.
Bro. So lame.
I cried so hard, allegedly. I don't remember it. I've never cried because I'm a big, strong boy.
That's true. That's true. He's gonna cry when he gets spit on by a llama later in Minecraft, though. But yeah, so those are just like some benefits of like, those are just some benefits on why horror is important for kids to have. And another thing I found interesting, this doesn't necessarily like fit in too much with what we were talking about right now, but I just wanted to mention it because I found it very interesting. Was that sometimes even like horror media can come from in like scare kids when that wasn't intended to be the case at all. There was an interview I saw with R.L. Stine where he was saying that it was never his intention to scare kids. He never wanted to like just scare any kids. He just wanted kids to like enjoy reading and want to go back and want to read. but kids would always come up to him and be like, "Oh, your book scared me so much," and he would be like, "Well, why did you read them?" And they'd be like, "Well, because it's fun. Like we like being scared." So it's just very fascinating. I thought that.
It's liking being scared is such a strange thing. Like I don't
Mhm.
even understand why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, in the National
Like-
Geographic article, they talk a lot about haunted houses too, are another thing where like you're safe and people enjoy it. People pay money to go to a haunted house, but like
Mhm.
it's just like you go there to be scared because it's fun.
Like every single night of my life, unless I'm like in some weird circumstance, I fall asleep listening to shout out to Let's Read on YouTube. He's the best horror commentator reader. I think he's the GOAT. Every single night I fall asleep listening to him, and he invades my dreams. I wake up in sweats. Sometimes I'm like, oh my god, like it scares me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm like, I need to wean off this a little bit because it's messing up my sleep schedule. But I mean, I just love it. Like I don't like going to bed to anything else. I like having that I like laying in bed being like, yeah, someone might bust open my front door and come in here, but I got a baseball bat and I'll fucking get them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I like it. It's just I do it. I need it. I need it. I can't not do it. It's
Yeah, no, I agree.
integral to my being at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's exactly what I do as well. I was gonna say I fall asleep not to Let's Read, but I usually fall asleep to another shout out coming for you, Mr. Nightmare. And
I like, dude. Let's Read. I like him. Mr. Nightmare's fine. I started off on Mr. Nightmare. I started off on the Mr. Nightmare. Then my doctor prescribed me some Let's Read. What I like about Let's Read, this is a tangent, may I add, but he doesn't have that like creepy voice. He just reads it in like a normal voice. I don't know what I it's still like deep and like quiet and like a little ominous, but Mr. Nightmare scares me a little bit too much.
Mr. Nightmare scares me when I hear a city that's located real close to where I live. Then I just perk up my ears and I'm like, hang on, what happened here?
Has that happened?
More than literally like 3 nights ago. Yeah. So knowing why all that is beneficial, I think that really kind of like shines a light on why it's important to have media and stuff like that. And I also think because of what I was just saying, like kids like to be scared, people like to be scared when it's like in a safe setting. I think that that's kind of why, like, if there's not the mainstream media for kids these days, I think that they're going to find it somewhere else in like these more like obscure places and kind of make it become popular and part of the mainstream. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's why we're seeing stuff like Bendy, like Poppy Playtime, Piggy, which is a goddamn Roblox game, but like you go to Walmart, they got fucking merch everywhere. Those are just so popular with kids now. I think it's just kids enjoy it and they will find a way to get their fill of horror media essentially, whether it's like in the mainstream or not. But I'm not
Yeah,
going to talk
These kids are underground renegades.
No, 100%. And I'm not going to talk too much about like all the internet horror trends and stuff like that have popped up right now, because that's a whole topic for another video for another day. So you better subscribe because I'm going to talk about it and I know you want to hear it if you are still here right now. So
Yeah, you want to hear it real
yeah,
bad.
you do. So, but that is the talk for the day on why horror media is good. Go check
It's a
out
wrap. I'm wrapping you up in saran wrap. You're done for, bucko.
Yep, go check out Creeped Out, but more importantly, watch more Goosebumps episodes. I know it's been so long since you've seen them. Go watch them. Go watch them right
It's been
now.
a while. And leave a comment. We love when you leave comments. It makes us
do.
real happy. Thank you so much for watching. We got stuff to do, so we gotta go.
See ya.